Hello, and thanks for joining us for this presentation from Sunstone Metals Managing Director Malcolm Norris. I'm Paul Armstrong from Reed Corporate. Sunstone has today announced a stunning hit of 177 metres at 1.1 grams per tonne of gold equivalent at its project in southern Ecuador. The result is particularly significant because it sits outside both the current resource and the published exploration target. Sunstone has also revealed today that it is seeing the key copper mineral chalcopyrite in the drill core at its project in northern Ecuador. This drilling is closing in on a large target called T2 and is expected to hit the anomaly within days. Malcolm is happy to take questions after today's presentation. Please click on the Q&A tab and we'll endeavour to put as many questions to Malcolm as we can once he's finished the presentation. Over to you, Malcolm.
Thanks very much, Paul, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to present on Sunstone's activities, and as you said, Paul, at the outset, this is a really exciting result from our Bramaderos project in southern Ecuador, and equally, we're excited about developments at El Palmar, so I'll touch on both of those during this presentation. Obviously, as an exploration company, there'll be some forward-looking statements here. So I'll just briefly touch on the company, but let's dive into, we'll get to Limon as quickly as we can. At a 30-day VWAP of 3.3 cents per share, our market cap's just under 90 million. At the end of December, we had cash and equities of just over 11 million, so well funded. We've got a very stable top 20 shareholding, and that comprises institutional funds, high net worths, and family offices from Australia and Europe. So you can see Bramaderos in the south there. That's what we'll be talking about mainly today. But we'll touch on, just at the end of the presentation, we'll touch on an update of activities at El Palmar up in the north, close to the Cascabel deposit. Okay, briefly on Ecuador. Look, the key points are Ecuador has an incredible future ahead of it as a mining destination. There's two modern operating gold mines, Fruta del Norte, which is a 10 gram per tonne, 480,000 ounce producer, an all-in sustaining cost of about $800 an ounce. Phenomenal deposit. I was there visiting it in late February. Really well run. A real credit to Lundin Gold. Mirador is a large open pit porphyry deposit, and that concentrate gets trucked across to the coast in Ecuador and then shipped to China. So the start is there, and then these other significant projects coming through, Cascabel, Warintza, and obviously Bramaderos needs to be added to that list. And today's announcement really pushes us into that position of a significant future development opportunity in Ecuador. So what's the investment proposition for Sunstone? It's actually very simple. It's discovery adds huge value. And the team at Sunstone have been involved in discoveries previously with Intrepid Mines in Indonesia at Tujuh Bukit and with SolGold in the early days of Cascabel, where we secured the project and managed the early drilling. And they add huge value. And we saw a taste of that at the end of 2021 on our two projects. So we delivered discovery drill holes at El Palmar and Alba in October and November 2021, and we saw our share price move from about 2 cents up to 12 cents. So that's what we're aiming to deliver, and we think today is the start of that. This is a significant discovery in its own right at Limon and absolutely changes the way we view Bramaderos. Just briefly, ESG is considered across our business, and the one point I'll make here is that we plan to release our inaugural sustainability report in the fourth quarter of this year. That work is underway well and truly, and it will document all the good work we're doing and all the benefits that responsible mining brings to the people of Loja province in southern Ecuador and to the people of Ecuador more generally. Okay, so Bramaderos. One of the key aspects of the value of this project is in its location. So we're in southern Ecuador. It's very easy to get to. You take a flight from Quito for about an hour, then you hop in a vehicle and drive on the Pan American Highway out to the southwest, and you're at the concession. That takes about an hour and a half to drive from that commercial airport out to the project site. The upper left photo shows the valley within which these cluster of porphyry centres exist. So each of those conical hills is a porphyry centre, and the one in the front is Alba, which is included in our mineral resource that we announced in December. You can see it's quite sparsely vegetated, it's quite dry, it's marginal agriculture. It's only at 900 metres above sea level, and there's a power system here so that we have adequate power, and 88% of Ecuador's power is hydropower, so good green power, ideal for a mining development. So this is an image that shows a portion of our concession. Our concession is 50 square kilometres. This shows a portion of it, but it shows the cluster of porphyry systems. And the image is gold in soils, so you can see that there's broad gold distribution at a number of different areas. Today's discussion obviously is focusing on Limon up in the northeast. So we've got an outcropping gold copper porphyry, and after today's results, we've got an outcropping well mineralised epithermal system that sits above and below these porphyries. Playas, we're getting ready to drill. Brahma Alba is where the mineral resource is. Melanal is included in the exploration target, and Portillo, we haven't drilled a hole yet at that target. Those drill holes that are shown are historical drilling, but we've prepared an area for drilling that will come over the next few months. So huge upside, and this is why we're saying this is a 10 million ounce district in our opinion. We think we can get there, and certainly the resource of 2.7 million ounces gold equivalent at Brahma Alba, and the exploration target of 3.3 to 8.6 million ounces from Brahma Alba, Melanal and Limon is certainly taking us in that direction. And today's results just reinforce that very, very clearly. So let's talk about today's results. Phenomenal result. The Limon target is large. It's over 1 kilometre long. It's nearly 1 kilometre wide. It's a very large alteration system. And so when we go and walk towards Limon and we stand on the hill, there aren't many trees because there's a lot of vuggy silica, there's clay, there's all those sorts of things that you would expect to see at the top of a large porphyry system. And then our drilling is on the northeast side of that. So this drill hole today, hole 17, has delivered us near surface mineralisation, high grade, and potential starter pit options for when we consider the broader development options that we might have at Bramaderos. So if we have a closer look, and this is the result, 177 metres at 1.1 grams per tonne gold equivalent. That's just gold and silver, so nearly 1 gram of gold and 10 grams of silver. But within that are a number of other significant intervals, 15 metres at 4 grams gold equivalent. Within that was nearly 2 metres at 22 grams, and that had visible gold in it, that interval. So fantastic result, and this is all from 6.8 metres below surface. And importantly, it's open to the north, to the east, to the west, and partly to the south. We've drilled a fence of holes down there. You can see on this diagram. Hole 12 had some significant mineralisation in it, so we know it extends that far. And hole 20, which is in progress, which is actually drilling a porphyry, had the suggestion of mineralisation in the shallow zone that sits above the porphyry. So a lot of upside here, and an area that we'll be following up over the next few months. For the geologists amongst us, some photographs of the rock. You'll see that the mineralisation is hosted primarily in hydrothermal breccias. So this is very encouraging from a number of different points of view. I look at these figures and it reminds me a bit of what we saw above the porphyry at Tujuh Bukit when we were drilling that with Intrepid Mines. And that did have a 2 million ounce gold silver high sulfidation system sitting above it. So let's hope we take it in that direction. But you can see a close-up photograph. The gold is there. It's associated with some sulfides. There's some sphalerite. There's a bit of chalcopyrite kicking around, but primarily hosted in these hydrothermal breccias, gold and silver, a bit of electrum. So all the right kinds of rocks and the potential to be very large. And this is what it looks like. So this is a view from the southern side of Limon looking to the northeast. That's our team of geologists in the foreground there. And the drilling was in the brown hill that's sort of straight ahead in the photograph. But you can see the other brown hills, exposed brown hills off to the right-hand side. They are also altered rocks, anomalous zinc, anomalous base metals. And so this target is obviously quite extensive, and we'll get testing those other areas over the next few months. So what impact does this have on how we approach Bramaderos? Just to remind you all, this was the mineral resource we released in December. So this is from Brahma Alba only, 2.7 million ounces gold equivalent, pit constrained. So we didn't include any mineralization that's below the pit or beside the pit in this mineral resource, and this was undertaken at a 0.3 gram per tonne gold equivalent cutoff. So a significant initial mineral resource, but one that we can add to with additional drilling from a number of different areas. What this resource also told us is that we do need to define some higher grade material, and that higher grade material would be incorporated into a starter development pit of some sort. You typically want that to pay back your capital, and then all of this material flows through very quickly. So this is where the resource was from, Alba on the left, Brahma on the right. These are positive topographic features, so very low strip ratio. And you can see sparsely vegetated. It's basically goat country through here. So again, an ideal place to contemplate a mining development. There is some higher grade material in the Brahma Alba resource, and a good example is hole 34 shown here. Shallow dipping hole in the Alba system, intersected 200 metres at 0.86 grams per tonne gold equivalent. So without doubt, we're going to find other areas throughout our drilling program, throughout the Bramaderos project that are higher grade. But just for context, I've included reference here to some deposits, some operating, some just exploration projects. Cadia, as you're all familiar with, in New South Wales. Underground MRE grades running just under 0.8 grams of gold equivalent. Alpala with gold equivalent grades there from 0.5 to 1 grams of gold equivalent, but with a high grade core, admittedly. Tandayama America, another project just next to Cascabel or next to Alpala, running 0.6 gold equivalent. Boddington, for those in the west familiar with that, that's 0.7 to 0.8 grams per tonne gold equivalent. And then recently in the news, Boda and Kaiser with Alkane running at significantly lower gold equivalent numbers. So we're absolutely in the ballpark for a very large porphyry development with high grade epithermal contributions. And again, I point out the most significant part of Bramaderos is we're from surface, we're positive topographic features, supported by excellent infrastructure and an ideal location to develop a mining project. So the exploration target, so this is now under review. After today's results, we'll be reviewing this because we only included tonnage ranging from 35 to 60 million tonnes at gold equivalent grades at Limon of 0.5 to 0.8 grams per tonne gold equivalent. So obviously we've exceeded that grade, and with more drilling, we expect to significantly exceed that tonnage. So this exploration target will be revised upwards. I'm confident of that. And we'll also obviously fill in the gaps with Brahma Alba and Melanal drilling with time. So that's Bramaderos. Exciting result today. Changes the way we look at Bramaderos. And as was said at the outset, we think this is a 10 million ounce cluster of porphyries across 6 different porphyry centres with higher grade epithermal systems in amongst that cluster, and an ideal potential development opportunity. So let's talk about El Palmar. Excitement there as well. I think most of you know where we're located. We're on this regional Toachi fault zone, 65 kilometres to the southwest of the giant El Palmar deposit, 3 billion tonne copper gold porphyry. We're also 12 kilometres from Lurimagua, which is a 1 billion tonne porphyry deposit. I should remind people, as we've put in our recent announcements, that we've recently had some age dating come back on the El Palmar intrusives, and they're the same age as the intrusives associated with the deposit at El Palmar. So that puts us absolutely in the right geological environment. This is what it looks like at a concession scale, and the panel on the right is soil copper, and you can see we've got a cluster of 5 porphyry centres, and we're currently drilling at target T2. So this is the T2 geophysical anomaly, and it sits below an area of alteration with sort of broad low-grade gold mineralisation when we look at surface sampling and 3 drill holes. And then if we slice a section through T2, this is what it looks like, and we're drilling hole 26 at the moment. We're approaching target zone, and as we put in our announcement today, we are seeing the suggestion of an increase in copper as we go down towards that target zone. We've got some visible chalcopyrite, we've got some visible porphyry veining, and yeah, we're pretty encouraged by what we're seeing. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll go into something more significant than that. And if we do, then the geometry, the geophysical response, the geology we're seeing here is very similar to the scenario that hosts Cascabel. And obviously that's an appropriate geological model to use for our future work. So what's ahead of us? 2023, it's going to be a very exciting year. So at Bramaderos, Le Mans drilling, we've planned about 2,000 metres of drilling across several holes. That will take us probably about 3 months to complete. We want to grow that exploration target. We want to move towards conversion of that into mineral resources. And we continue to have a number of opportunities that can deliver additional discoveries. So we also have drilling planned at Plias, Melanal and Portillo, as well as the Le Mans drilling. That will require more than the 1 rig that we've got on site at the moment. So it may be that we move one of the rigs from El Palmar, because there's 2 up there at the moment. We may move one back down to Bramaderos. But that's the beauty of having 3 rigs, 2 projects, and we can move between them. And then at El Palmar, we want to deliver a significant discovery at T2. That is our #1 primary goal, and we'll know in the next couple of weeks whether we're on track to do that. And then a second hole coming in after the current one, also to test that target. So, you know, we can move the drill rigs around, we can put them on the best priorities, but we've got a wealth of choice for those great targets. So that's where we're sitting at the moment, and obviously happy to take some questions.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much, Malcolm. Yes, we do have a few questions, actually. First question first. Looking at slide 4 of today's news, a shareholder asked, do you think over time that the Le Mans asset can potentially link up with the Brahma Elba asset? I know you explained the connection there, but perhaps we could provide a summary of that, Malcolm.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'll go back to this other image. Okay, so geologically, they're related. Geometrically, they're 2.5 kilometres apart. But you'll notice on this image that there's a series of gold anomalies that extend south of Le Mans through Plias and across to Brahma Alba. We think the Plias system is magnetic anomalies as well as gold in soil that sort of cluster amongst Brahma Alba, and then that extends up to Le Mans. So look, we've got a belt of these. You know, these are a cluster of individual intrusives. So does it all join up as one big thing? Probably not, but it joins up as a cluster of individual ore bodies, I'm sure of that.
And a couple of questions on the corporate front, Malcolm. Are you receiving any inquiries from some of the big boys, as somebody puts it here, or I assume they mean the gold, copper majors and the like?
Yeah, we get a number of inquiries from these groups periodically. We had one just after PDAC, which was held in the first week of March in Toronto. Look, it's not a surprise, you know, that the world is screaming out for copper opportunities, and the price of gold is strengthening. So any junior company with gold copper assets should be on the radar of these majors, and the fact that we're getting incoming inquiries means they're doing their job and they're managing their business development spreadsheets very well. So not a surprise, yeah, you know, they certainly know what we're doing.
And in a similar vein, Malcolm, an investor asks, are you concerned that you're vulnerable to a low ball takeover bid?
Yes, yeah, I think so. You know, we wouldn't want to see any sort of activity at these prices because we're very cheap, in my opinion. Look, we do have very supportive shareholders, particularly the top 20, as I explained at the outset. We keep in close contact with them. We've just returned from Ecuador and we had a small group of those shareholders there. So, you know, they're in this for a significantly bigger prize than our market cap at the moment.
Moving from the south to the north of Ecuador, Malcolm, there's obviously strong interest here among the investors in the T2 target drilling that you referred to. One asks, what are you seeing in the drilling so far?
Yeah, so we're seeing trace levels of chalcopyrite. We're seeing B veins, which are the veins that are associated with porphyry mineralization. We're seeing altered host rocks. So the geology there is that there's a series of intrusives that are actually host to the mineralization. So they were sitting there prior to mineralization. So we're seeing that mineralization in those. The drill hole did go through a post-mineral intrusive, which you quite often see in porphyries. So we had an interval there, true width, I don't know, it's 50 to 80 meters, somewhere in there. So we went through that, and obviously we were hoping we'd come out the other side and continue to see mineralization, trace levels, and we have. So yeah, it's looking good.
And you mentioned a second hole there, Malcolm. An investor asked, why a second hole? What's the plan?
Yeah, so you know, the target that's defined at T2, let me, while I'm talking, just slip through the slides here. The target that's defined at T2 is based on surface mineralization. So, you know, that's an absolute location, but it's also based on this large MT target, which we've defined from geophysics. And I think everyone knows that when you contour up a geophysical anomaly and at depths of, you know, sort of 400 or 500 meters, it can be a bit rubbery. You know, we don't know whether it's exactly there or whether it's 100 meters either side. And so the second drill hole is important for us to understand the geometry of alteration and we assume mineralization. So, you know, no ore body is discovered with just one drill hole. We obviously aim to put each drill hole into the center of the ore body, but they never are. So the second drill hole is testing that other scenario with the MT where it could be slightly moved from where it's shown on this diagram.
And switching back to today's news in the south, Malcolm, a viewer asks, can you comment on the size of Limon in relation to tonnes and potential average grade? Also, can you explain significance of high sulfidation on gold copper grades? Yeah,
okay. So, look, in response to the tonnes and grade question, in the context of our exploration target, we included a component of that exploration target from Limon. 35 to 60 million tonnes is what we estimated at 0.5 to 0.8 gold equivalent grams per tonne. And that was based on the information we had to hand at the time, which was linked to our higher grade porphyry system that we had seen at surface and in one drill hole. So this result today was outside of that assessment of exploration target. So we would expect the tonnage to be higher, and from what we're seeing in this drill hole today, we would expect the grade to be higher. So that's all we can say, because it's early days. I mean, this thing's open to the north, east, and west, and we see it a bit to the south. So too early on that. In terms of relationship between high sulfidation and porphyries, look, we don't know yet whether this Le Mans hole is actually a high sulfidation. I mean, epithermal deposits have a full geological range. The fact that we're seeing a few sort of sulfides with this could mean that it's intermediate sulfidation. Anyway, it's early days. So what we will do is drill this, get a better handle on it. But we're also drilling a deep hole at the moment off to the southeast of this result today that is aimed at a porphyry system. And, we hope that we can deliver that as well for Le Mans. So lots of opportunity at Le Mans, epithermal, higher grade, porphyry, and then we've got all our other targets, Plias, Melanal, Brahma, Alba, etc., to follow up as well.
And another question, I think you touched on this too, Malcolm, but at what point do you expect today's results to feed into the exploration target?
Yeah, good question. I would hope that we're updating the exploration target in the second half of this year, but it's very much dependent upon drilling and the value in putting out an updated exploration target when you're in the middle of a drill program. Not sure about that. So we'll continue to review it, but maybe the second half of this year sometime. And
a question regarding funding. How much money have you got? What are your plans going forward?
Yeah, so we had some high burn rates in terms of expenditure when we were doing the resource drilling at Brahma Alba. So the last 2 quarters of last year, our expenditure level was high. That's because we had 4 rigs and holes that didn't require many moves. So we were getting a lot of meters. And we finished the year with just over $11 million in the bank. So we're pretty comfortable. And obviously, this follow-up drilling is very important, and we can fund that. We've got 3 rigs operating at the moment, so we've dropped 1 back, and we can move those rigs between various targets.
It's great, Malcolm. Thanks very much for your time today. Fantastic result. Obviously, more news flow pending, given what you're drilling in the north at the T2 target. We look forward to hearing that. We expect that, as you mentioned, in days or a couple of weeks. So plenty of news flow to look forward to at both ends of Ecuador. Thanks very much for taking the time to walk us through it.
Thanks very much, Paul. A pleasure. And lots of excitement here at the moment. Some great targets and great results. We're delivering what we said we were going to deliver. Thanks very much.
Thank you.